So my wife's favorite musician or artist, or I guess you could say, is Taylor Swift. And since I started this channel, she's been requesting that I do a review on one of her albums. And I just want to make it clear that this is not going to be a regular thing. Content on my channel is not changing. We will be getting back to reviewing music that makes you want to rip off your face and throw it at the wall shortly after this. So don't worry if you're already subscribed to this channel for metal music. That is definitely not changing. I'm just trying something out of my element, I guess, and I thought it'd be fun to try something new. So for today's music review, we're going to be checking out the new album, Midnights by Taylor Swift. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Taylor Swift, she has a lot of different genres under her belt, from pop to folk to alternative, and people could consider some of her music to be rock and country. So yeah, she fits into a lot of different genres. She was born in Pennsylvania. She's been in the music industry since 2004, and Midnights is her 10th studio album. And now for all you Swifties out there, I don't know all the lore or all the Easter eggs based around all of her music, but I do love concept albums, so I'm going to do the best that I can. I do know that Taylor Swift has a history of writing about personal relationships and life experiences, and the only album that I've actually listened to in full from hers is Folklore, which is based on made-up stories, and it's a concept. So I enjoyed it quite a bit, and I know that Midnights is sort of a concept album. I know it's inspired by 13 Sleepless Nights that Taylor had. It uses a mixture of alternative folk, experience with synth pop, electronica, and dream pop. And the lyrical content is, basic stuff that keeps us up at night, from insecurities, anxiety, self-criticism, and insomnia. And this is only going to be a review on just the regular. It's not the extended album. I'm not going to do the full hour plus long worth of music that she released on the extended stuff. It's going to just be the 13 songs on the standard original album, I guess you could say, because this is going to be a fairly long review anyways, because it's a concept and I'm going to try and flesh it out as much as I can, and also not being too familiar with the pop genre and subgenres and different stuff like that. I'm going to try to describe what I'm hearing to the best of my abilities, given my very limited knowledge of the genre as well. So yeah, again, for all you Swifties out there, just take it easy on me, all right? The album opens up with the song Lavender Haze, which is like a 1950s term for falling deeply in love, and you're kind of blinded by it in a sense. And it captures the feeling of a fresh new relationship, and it's inspired by a line from an episode of Mad Men. And it conveys the desire to focus on the passion of love rather than the negative remarks of others. It's got a strong synth beat and kind of this weird vocal effect thing that took a little bit for it to grow on me. The verses see her hanging out with her lover while her mind is elsewhere. And the pre-chorus touches on the internet kind of flaming her and constantly looking at her relationships and life and just looking at it underneath a magnifying glass, being way too involved, seeing who she's dating next or who she's going to break up with next. And the chorus gets kind of airy as her vocals become light, as the lavender haze is kind of consuming her, and now she doesn't really care what others think. And I found it kind of interesting that verse 2, Taylor is viewed as an all or nothing or a one night stand kind of girl. And then we have the song Maroon, which has a lot of similarities to Red and Clean, where Red describes love as burning red, while Maroon has more of a mature love story to it. And Maroon also isn't so much of a straightforward color as Red is. It's got different shades of brown and stuff in there, so it has a lot more complexities to it. It starts out with a really slow snare beat as the lyrics describe a relationship that started out mostly as a friendship, and the chorus picks up as it kind of has this euphoric proclamation to it. It has a lot of throwbacks to different songs such as Holy Ground, False Gods, and Cornelis Street. And I love the atmosphere and the imagery. It just really takes you right to the scene of the place as she's saying, they're dancing in New York, and it's just, you can really feel it. You can see the building they're in and all that. At least, I don't know, I can. And it's got a lot of different references to blood, as in the color, such as she uses phrases as red, scarlet, rust, and of course maroon. Her vocals pick up the pace as she sounds like she's becoming a little bit more excited about being in this relationship. And verse 2 is very vocal driven as she's kind of describing the relationship as, or a past relationship as, carnations when they were mistaken to be roses, which is obviously carnations are a cheaper form of roses. And chorus 2 sees the end of the relationship. As the bridge, she expresses that she doesn't really get any closure. My favorite song on the album is probably Antihero, as it shows how Taylor sees how her life has become unmanageably large. And verse 1 has throwbacks to Tolerate It, The Archer, and Nothing New. And it also shows how horrible her sleep schedule has become with her 13 sleepless nights. And the chorus is basically Taylor admitting that she's her own worst enemy. Like, she says that staring at the sun is easier than looking in the mirror. So if she has a problem that comes up in her life, it's a lot easier for her to look literally anywhere else, even at the sun, than it is for her to recognize that she is her own problem. And it's really hard for her to even admit this. And verse 2 is probably one of my favorite things ever, where she refers to her fame and status as a monster up on a hill, and she compares everybody to being sexy babies, which is kind of like she's saying that she's become kind of old and she's no longer like sexy anymore, and all these other people are now rising up and they're the new fame, and she can't really sit at the table because she's the growing up adult now. And even though she's kind of in the mix with these people, she just feels like she doesn't fit in. And the bridge has similarities to 2019 film Knives Out, which is basically where someone, a family member, in this case a daughter-in-law, schemes to murder her for her money, which turns out to be they only get like 13 cents or something. The music video is quite entertaining on this one. And then we have the song Snow on the Beach, which features Lana Del Rey, who I'm also not very familiar with whatsoever. And the phrase snow on the beach is a reference to, like thinking like, is this real life? Is this reality? It's something that's so amazing it can't be real. And it's about the beauty of two people falling in love at the same time. And it starts out with kind of a bouncy synth that honestly, it reminds me a lot of Snowfall, and Taylor's vocals that go up and down quite a bit. And verse 1 has references to the song All Too Well, but now she isn't really paralyzed with losing her lover, where she was in All Too Well, where now in this song she's paralyzed by being overwhelmed with him when he's approaching her. She's so in love with him. It's a different type of paralyzation. So it's almost like a counter to All Too Well. And the chorus has both Lana and Taylor. And honestly, it's a very lacking feature. I feel like if you would have never told me that nobody else was singing with Taylor, I would have never been able to tell. Verse 2 drops out as she has more throwbacks and just amazing imagery. And the bridge has a really clever Janet Jackson reference to it. You're on Your Own Kid parallels this song. It's nice to have friends. It's about a young person who longs for love, but eventually realizes that they're all alone. The verse has a pulsing beat, and it talks about her wanting to leave her hometown, but there's one guy who's making it very difficult for her to leave because she doesn't want to leave him behind. But she realizes that the feelings that she has for him are not mutual when he doesn't even show up for her birthday in the pre-chorus. And then verse 2 sees Taylor giving up the good girl persona and choosing to be who she feels like she really is. And the bridge shows Taylor's friends' disapproval for all these things, especially different stuff that's happened to her due to fame and different people she's been with. But in the long run, everything that she's done in her life leads her to the path of being with Joe. So there's nothing that anybody could say that could really take that away from her. Midnight Rain is about Taylor ending a relationship so she could focus on her career, and eventually it becomes forgotten like it never happened. And they're kind of seen as being opposites, where she refers to him as sunshine and she considers herself to be Midnight Rain. And the intro really shows a contrast between the two lovers, where verse 1 explains basically how much excitement he brought to her life and how he could have been a source of happiness for her if she would have let him. And verse 2 is Taylor kind of looking back on what she missed out on. Like, he's moved on, dated other girls, had kids, marrying, all that. And she's kind of looking back thinking, like, did I mess up? Would I have been happy if I would have stayed with that? And honestly, the vocals in the chorus are a little awkward the first couple times, but again, it's another thing that grew on to me the more I listened to it. Then we have the song Question, which is another favorite. It sees Taylor pondering if her ex has been able to get over her. And it starts with her remembering the relationship. It's got lots of different throwbacks to different songs in it, and the background has harmonies that hit really hard when the chorus comes in. And she brings up specific events, asking if he's ever experienced anything like that with anybody else other than her, and if he misses those kind of magic moments, I guess. The second chorus has like this really strange drum beat in it, and the bridge, she compares their meeting as like a meteor strike, and she's wondering if anything's ever been able to compare to that. So like, in other words, he's moved on, and she's wondering if anything else in his life has ever compared to how special she was, because she obviously thought he was special. She wants to be something important and mean a lot to him. Vigilante Shift is about not getting mad, but getting even in a relationship, especially after a breakup. And she kind of acknowledges that there's wrong done on both sides within the verse that has a very heavy synth beat where she says, you know, she keeps her side of the street clean. And the chorus really keeps that vibe going musically, as she's saying she doesn't seek out the drama, but when it pops up, she shuts it down, referring to internet nonsense. And verse 2 adds some drums, and it's from the perspective of a mistress who gives the wife proof that the affair is happening. And after the divorce, the two women become friends, which is kind of interesting because it goes against the norms of society. And the bridge is kind of playfully mocking gender roles in a way, or I guess the stereotype that of how a lady's supposed to be and how she's supposed to present herself. And because this song never really climaxes, it just always has this intensity to it. Another one of my favorite songs on this album is Bejeweled, which kind of has the same kind of feel as Anti-Hero, and that might be why I like it so much. It's about being undervalued in a relationship, and despite her lover no longer being enchanted by her, she knows that she could dazzle any room that she walks into, so she decides she's going to go out for a night on town. And the chorus has fantastic imagery and great metaphors, and when she's asked if she's single or not, she forgets if she has a man because she feels like she's been forgotten about in the relationship. She says she's been given the basement of his heart when she desires the penthouse. And verse 2 has a link to one of my favorite songs she's ever done, which is This Is Me Trying. And I love that the music really, it emulates the imagery of like her shimmering. And then we have the song Labyrinth, which is about finding comfort in a new person directly after a breakup. And the verse is kind of reminiscent of the track Empathy, where she compares an elevator to the ups and downs of love. And in the chorus, she's falling in love when everything looked like it was going to be a plane crash. It ends up turning around. And I feel like the song doesn't really pick up until the final chorus. And even though the song feels like it's building up a lot, it actually feels like it's descending at the same time. I really appreciate the song Sweet Nothing, where Taylor shows her gratitude for the life that she has with Joe. Like, the outside world is chaotic, and as a celebrity, she's got a lot on her shoulders, but he asks sweet nothing of her. He just desires to be with her. And it's got a slow musical melody with a quick and almost joyful kind of vocals that sound very blissful. She finds comfort in just a relationship that has zero expectations from her boyfriend in the chorus. And the bridge is brilliant in how vulnerable it is and how she can't really handle the pressure of her status and fame. And horns kind of sneak into the last chorus, and they pop up every once in a while here and there, giving a little bit more depth to the song. Then we have the closing track, Mastermind, where Taylor admits that she schemed to ensure that her and Joe would end up together. She says that the stars aligned, but later on in the chorus, we find out that this was not true. It's not all coincidence. She really set out to get him. And in verse 2, she justifies just how she did it. The chorus is really conniving in its resolution and how it builds up to it. And we also find out in the bridge that this is nothing new to her. We discover that she's been doing this since she was a kid, because she found that people never really naturally liked her. So she had to find ways to get people to like her. And it's a genius closing track, which also kind of pokes fun at her being a mastermind and how she hides Easter eggs throughout all of her songs. And even after she admits this to Joe, that she was scheming them being together, he already knew. It's no surprise to him. I feel like, again, take this as a grain of salt because I'm not familiar with Taylor's discography all that much, or even like really at all. I feel like this is the most real that Taylor has been. She's completely open about her insecurities and how that's influenced her and some of the actions that she's done. She might have blamed other people in the past and kind of admitted that, you know, she's not perfect as well. But in the song Anti-Hero, she really just, she lets it out there. You know, she lets you know that she is the problem. And she's also letting herself know that, I'm to blame for a lot of this. And all the musical themes work really well in these songs. My only issue with them is that a lot of these songs take kind of a minimalistic approach. So after a while, they could kind of sound the same, especially if you're not really listening for the different nuances within the music. But again, it works, and it doesn't really detract from the emotion that she's trying to bring to it whatsoever. And all the Easter eggs and all the different like throwbacks and nods to other songs and stuff are very brilliant. They don't feel forced. They feel like they have their own identity within these songs, where sometimes bands like they'll throw something in there that's from like a past song or a past album, and it feels like it was thrown in there on purpose to be like that, and it doesn't really fit the song, and you're like, oh yeah, it's just a throwback, that's why it doesn't make any sense in the song whatsoever. But that's not really the case in any of these, because she's also revisiting some of these songs in terms of the emotions. I mean, it's her staying up late at night and thinking about this stuff, and a lot of her songs are songs that she wrote about specific things in her past anyways, so it's only right that she revisits them. And I like how a lot of them are different, like almost direct contrasts to what the old song was, what this was about, what she's losing sleep over. So yeah, with all that said, I got to give Midnights by Taylor Swift a 7.9 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. This is my first time ever reviewing pop music like this. So yeah, I really have no idea if what I said holds any ground or any water. I have no clue. I don't know. So yeah, leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of Midnights. Let me know what your favorite song is, and let me know what you would rate it. And if you enjoyed this review, feel free to give it a dislike. If you didn't like this review, it's totally fine. Go ahead and give me a thumbs down. But at the same time, let me know why you didn't like it, other than the fact if you're a regular subscriber and you just hate Taylor Swift, which I mean, I totally get, and I don't, that's all on you. But like I said, we're going to get back to face-melting music right after this, so please stay tuned. And if you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing. Leave a comment below letting me know what you want me to review next. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to even just listen to me talk about music. I appreciate you more than you could ever imagine, and I hope you have a good rest of your day or night, whenever you happen to be watching this. And I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying to make it relying on